I'm on a journey to become a self-made game dev, and have been working on a horror game with a friend. Along the way, we accidentally created a dumpster fire, so let's see where it all went wrong, and if we can even fix it.
To start out, Detective Rabbi has to go back to the beginning, before the fatal error that caused the downfall of the greatest devlog.
After the last video, our main goal was playability, to get something out to everyone, so that we could play test, find bugs, and fix those. And our first order of business was to build a level. Then use said level to start to develop a gameplay loop with all of our systems in one place. That's exactly where I came in, as I've handled Blender and Unity's Pro Builder in the past, so I had a better grasp on modeling. While finishing up the gray boxing of our level, we came across the first problem, our interaction system. When we started out, we set up a simple fast check for the player to see if they could interact, and then we called the function to interact. If you're new to coding or haven't noticed this fatal mistake, this means we have to handle all of our interactions in this one script. Every single one. If what could end up becoming a massively long script isn't bad enough, Yandere Sim, we can only have one person working on the script, because if I touch it and then Banana Bread touches it, merge conflicts. We ended up having to resolve the conflicts more than a few times. So much so, I stopped using the interact system altogether and worked on other things, and just had Banana Bread attach them later. When starting our project, Unity's first-person character controller was used to make life easier, so we could get working quickly on our systems for the game. And while this is perfectly fine, what isn't is that when I was making the animations and attached the player to our character controller, your camera would clip through your body and allow you to see your insides. This bugged the crap out of me, not because of the looking through your body, but because this should have been an easy fix. Just clamp the camera. If we clamp the camera to a certain point, it won't allow the player to look through his body. Yeah, well, apparently I suck, because I couldn't get it to clamp at all. This character controller uses Cinemachine. It is an extremely strong camera that allows for smoothing transitions and a bunch of other useful tricks for gaming and cinematic scenes. Though, the way they have it set up for the character controller is to use a third-person camera and set the distance to 0. This places the camera exactly where you think it would, on your face. And this looks fine and is fine, but it won't let me clamp it. Maybe I'm just a terrible coder. But this is nothing like the final layer. Importing the character controller, we attached the phone, and well, it didn't look how it did in Blender.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Hell, when we go to add any realistic objects and materials, they will all seem off, because I realized I made my project in the Universal Render Pipeline. And if you don't know what that is, when you go to set up a project, you can choose what render pipeline you want to use. I have a habit of picking URP because it is optimized and it still looks great, so it's my go-to. Though I wanted to make a realistic game, so HDRP is the way to go. High definition render pipeline. And that's because it has ray tracing, subsurface scattering, and a bunch of really great options that help bring the game closer to reality. Nice thing is, Unity lets you switch between the two. You just need to remove the old pipeline and add the new one, and then connect the required settings to your project, and sick. Let's check out the scene. What the fuck? I don't even know what's going on here. The entire scene is just black. That makes sense. I'm just going to create a new project. Turns out, at this point is when I fell really sick for about a week, and then I ended up in the hospital for another one. I'm alright now, and I will explain everything on a later date, but the gist of it is our beloved horror game came to a complete stop. It took me about another week to get back into walking around and doing stuff again, but the flow state me and Banana Bread were in crumbled. It had already been a month since we worked on the project in any meaningful way, along with the knowledge that when we came back, we were coming back to a state that was barely manageable, leading to severe burnout. Time passed, and I got a notification from my Discord server. The Horde devlog.
We want a horror game. Rabbi, horror game.
Wait, most of these are the same guy. And with this newfound inspiration to not let people down, Banana Bread and I sat down and decided we need a comeback. First, these errors, the third one is unfortunately fatal. So we only had one option: to start a new HDRP project and salvage what we can and redo the rest. A lot of our prefabs didn't make the switch. but most of our scripts did. Out of necessity, Banana Bread rebuilt the character controller his own way. Listen, I'm not touching that. I created an interface to fix our interaction system. Now I have a method you put all your code in called interact. If this script is on an object and you click on that object with our interact button, all code in this method runs. As for everything else, that being our animated player, the level, phone models, doors, procedural animation, right now, those are either gone and need to be redone, like the level, or need to be set up again, like the animations, on the new character controller. Though these shouldn't take long, as we've done them before. But hey, if you want to see what they look like, you should check out my last video where I created the procedural animations.